Today is Thursday, Parashat Haazinu. It's the day after Yom Kippur, a day that is known also as the day of Simchat Kohanim, the celebration of the Kohanim, celebrating the fact that the Kohen Gadol went into the Holy of Holies, and the very important Seder Avodah, the service of Yom Kippur. Today we also are very busy getting ready for Sukkot. Of course, buying the Arba Minim, the Lulav, Etrog, the Hadas, and Arava, and building the Sukkah. As soon as we come out from Kippur, we go Chayil al Chayil, from strength to strength, from one mitzvah to the next mitzvah. And yesterday, right after the fast, we already start planning or doing something in preparation. And today, many people are busy getting ready the Sukkah. So just a couple of halachot on building the Sukkah. Eating in the Sukkah, and some people, of course, also sleep in the Sukkah, living in the Sukkah during the days of Sukkot. We must make sure that we have a kosher Sukkah. So there are certain rules in building a kosher Sukkah. First of all, you must build the walls first before you put the schach, before you put the roof of the Sukkah. So the walls you build first, the frame and the walls, not just the frame, but the actual walls have to be built, and then the schach. The walls can be made of any material, but it should be something that doesn't move with a common type of wind. And therefore, those that use tarp or some material, there are issues with that. You can use it, but typically, this type of material or tarp move in the wind, and if it moves in the wind, that wall is therefore not a stable wall. And if it's not a stable wall, it would make the sukkah not kosher. So let's say if that's what you're going to use tarp or material, there is a way to make it kosher. What we do is we make sure that the bottom part of the wall, which is the first 10 tfachim, which is about 1 meter, 1 yard approximately, that is either solid, or if not solid, we string around the perimeter of the sukkah on 3 walls, or 3 walls and a portion of the 4th wall. We put a string around, and more than 1 string, so that between the floor and the first string there is less than 3 tfachim. 3 tfachim is 24 centimeters, which is about, in inches, a little bit less than 10 inches. And so must be less than that between the floor and the first string, and then between the first string and the second string and the third string, until we get to a height of about 1 yard, 1 meter, because when there is less than 3 tfachim between one string and the next, halachically speaking, it's considered to be lavud, which means as if it was stuck together. Less than 3 tfachim is considered to be as if the space was closed. So that way you can make the walls, if you're going to use tarp or lint or a material that will move in the wind, these strings will create a wall at the height of 10 tfachim, which is the minimum height of a wall for a sukkah. Now, once the wall are constructed, then we move on to making the schach. The schach must be made from vegetation, something that grows from the ground, from a plant. But it cannot be a plant that's still connected to the ground. In other words, you cannot take a tree that is still planted in the ground and use the branches while it's still planted. You have to cut them first and then put the vegetation on the roof of the sukkah to have enough covering so that it creates shade. So it should not be more sun than shade. It should be more shade than sun. But also it should not be so dense that you cannot see the stars in the night. So there should be a little bit of some openings, so that through the openings you can see through to the sky. That's regarding the schach and the walls around. The minimum number of walls for the sukkah is at least 2 complete walls and 1 little wall. It will be also acceptable. But if you have 4 walls or 3 walls, that's fine. The other aspects of the sukkah, anything that we said that is vegetation, and that is not connected to the ground, but however, it cannot be what we call a keli, a vessel, something that will become tameh. That's why even if you had a ladder that is fully made of wood, that all the wood grew in the ground, you're not allowed to use it because it became into a usable keli, a usable object that can become tameh. It's not just a piece of a branch or leaves. So that's why we cannot use, let's say, an example of a ladder on top of the roof. Now, if the frame around is made of metal, and many people use frames that are made of metal, that is permissible, but there are some opinions that what is ma'amid the schach, what the schach is resting on, must be also something that is not metal, something that is also made from something that grows in the ground. And therefore, there are some that are strict when there is a metal frame of the sukkah to have some wood, thin wood pieces, or like strips of wood on top of the metal before the schach rests on it, because that's called the ma'amid, the one who makes the schach stand. So that's why you'll see some sukkot where metal, they have a strip of wood on it that is tied onto the metal, and then on top of that would rest the schach, would rest the vegetation which make up the roof of the sukkah. There are many times questions that come up. I'm available to answer questions. You can either send them by email or text or pictures of the sukkah. Many people have certain sukkot that are some like year-round. It's a patio, and now they want to turn it into a sukkah. It is permissible in some cases, and in others it's not. Just looked at a sukkah recently where the beams of the patio were made of aluminum, and the spaces were between and the person was thinking to build a sukkah there, but he would not make it a kosher sukkah. So the halachot are complex. We said just some very basic ideas of the concept of how to build a sukkah, but if there are questions, they can be directed and we'll answer them. You can start early to build a sukkah. Don't leave it until Sunday, because then time is pressing. But today, Thursday, tomorrow, in the early part of the day, when you get closer to Shabbat, they have to give Shabbat what it deserves. And we should all have a Gmar Chatima Tova and Chag Sukkot Sameach. It's really a true time of Simcha. The Pasuk says, Or Zaru ala Tzaddik, Yishrelev Simcha. Yishrelev is those that have gone through Kippur, and now they're straight of heart. The Kippur cleans us, and we become purified in a sense, and then afterwards comes the holiday of Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.